to a podcast, Wellness Across Cultures, where we meet with fitness professionals, yoga instructors, wellness professionals, therapists from different countries and places to discuss wellness and understand how culture, movement, nutrition, and mindset shape the way we live and the way we learn. I'm your host, Olena Steinmetz, and you're viewing our channel for Journey Life. And today I have an incredible friend and also a chef, an educator, and who has been making a difference in San Antonio for decades. As I mentioned, she's a chef, she's an educator, she's a community builder, and she is also one of the most generous humans I know. So Chef Mary Long, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much, Alina. I'm so excited to be here with you today. And this is fun that even though we're not in the same kitchen, that we can share time together. So thank you for inviting me to the table.
Absolutely. I'm very excited to cook with you today. And if you want to explain what we're going to be making today, we can start on that. And then during the process, we can also talk about your contribution to the community, your everything that you're doing, all the efforts that you are contributing to our community.
Sure. So I have the privilege of working on Joint Base San Antonio at Fort Sam Houston in a teaching kitchen that serves our military community, but we're also able to bring in folks that are out in San Antonio by offering some different resources. So I teach culinary classes there. I also just came on board to assist with the Army Baylor Master's Nutrition's project that's happening at the Medical Center of Excellence on Joint Base San Antonio, Fort Sam Houston. And I'll be assisting the team in the first year students in their nutrition program, both in my lab, but also at the podium, sharing some of my background, history and organizational leadership and other things. So that's been a huge blessing to add to my plate just this week, in fact. It's been 5 years now, which is just amazing to me to say that I've been a part of this community here. And I'm excited to be able to put together the culinary side of it, but also a very important part of our community in the food insecurity as well. So we do walk beside our community with closely looking at food security and how that's affecting our military community, as well as just the community of San Antonio as a whole. What we're doing today is a couple of recipes. So I'm excited to see all your beautiful in your garden. And this is the time of year where we can get out all the beautiful tomatoes and cucumbers and all this fresh produce. And if you don't have a little garden happening at your home, of course, the local farm stands and grocery stores have all of these in season. So it's a wonderful time to put together some simple salads, some simple recipes. And we'll be making a cucumber and tomato caprese salad. It's a simple caprese salad. We're actually utilizing a salad dressing for that instead of making our own, though I do have some great recipes that I can share with you folks as well for that. And then we'll make a hummus recipe as well. And so if you've seen the 55 different types of hummus at the grocery store, we're going to make a simple variety that's very inexpensive to make, but delicious and easy for your summer. And both of these recipes are no heat, no stovetop at all or oven. So we will we'll enjoy that quick and easy recipe.
And this is what I really like about these recipes that you're offering, because they're really quick, they're easy, and just enjoyable to make. So I'm ready for your guidance. So let us know, what do we have to do?
Great. So the recipe I was going to start with is going to be our hummus recipe today. And this one, I'm using garbanzo beans, also known in places of the world as chickpeas. And it's just a 15.5 ounce size. But if you have the ability or the time to make your fresh chickpeas or garbanzo beans, it's simple to cook those and have them as well. I've already rinsed mine, and I saved just a little bit of the juice off the can. That's something that a lot of folks actually utilize, Alina. The juice off the can is sometimes called aquafaba, and it's used in vegan cooking quite often. Sometimes folks use that in place of eggs or egg whites in recipes. But today we're going to utilize just a bit of it in case we need to cream up our hummus. So I'm using a bullet. Olina, it looks like she's using a nice blender, or using like a, is that a Vitamix or a blender?
It's a Vitamix. And
nice.
And we're putting about a can. We're putting the whole can, right?
The whole can, yeah. And I'm just using a personal bullet. This is like a magic bullet.
It's very
so if you have, or you can use a regular blender as well. The main thing for this is just processing it to where it's going to make our hummus as creamy as we like. You might have seen some Mediterranean style hummus that's a little more chunky. There's some folks that like it really smooth. So that's kind of to preference. And then to that, I'm going to add some lemon juice. So I'm going to add about a fourth of a cup of lemon juice. I'm using fresh lemon. If you have the lemon that's in the jar or the can container, you can use that as well. Not an issue at all. So we're going to use the fresh lemon juice.
What I did with my lemons, Mary, I've learned to freeze them. Sometimes I actually slice them.
Yes.
And so I have to defrost mine a little bit to squeeze.
Oh, sure. That's a great idea. And that's the thing. If you have a lemon tree at home, or you have the gift of lemons, or sometimes it's a little less inexpensive to buy them in the bag, they do freeze. If they seem like when they're coming out of the freezer that they're not as juicy as before, you can kind of take your hand and roll them on the countertop, microwave them like you mentioned for just a minute or two, or just a few seconds, not a minute or two. And then that will help kind of get those juices flowing, as we like to say. So I'm adding my lemon juice in here.
About 4 tablespoons, right? 1/4 cup?
About. We'll go ahead and add that in.
So Mary, tell us, what was that moment for you when you first understood that food was more than a meal? So can you take us back to?
Sure. And we're going to go way back. I was a child that had a lot of freedom in the kitchen. One of my parents had chronic illness, and there was a time for a few years when I was just 7, 8 years old, where I was actually in charge of the kitchen. My other parent, my dad, worked kind of the mid shift in the evening. And so I was the cook, and he gave me a lot of freedom to just come up with recipes and take old recipes and modify them and just have fun in the kitchen. And while I was developing that time, just kind of out of necessity for our family, for my little sister, myself, and my parents, I also had a neighbor who really loved to cook. And she would invite me into the kitchen and show me some techniques and ways that she did things. And it was all just with love. From that, I also learned that when I took that dish to the table and served my family, or maybe it was friends, maybe I made some brownies and took them, there was such a feeling that I had of joy from the giving of that meal or that baked good to someone else. And that just started really early in my life as a child, and grew as I had my own children, as I went into the workplace and had opportunities to work with families. And we'll talk probably a little more about that. And so that was just way back when. And I think it really was wonderful that my dad just really let me go with it and trusted me to give me some ingredients that you need and let me go with it. And I was too young, I guess, maybe to have a lot of apprehension. So I really did have a good time in the kitchen. I still remember one moment where I think my first turkey try at Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
I had buttered that thing up. I think I watched someone on PBS, butter it, maybe Julia Child. I'm not sure now because I'm from back in the day, Alina. And I buttered it up and I went to move it from one spot to the other and dropped that bird. It slid all the way across the floor, hit the countertop, and I just was mortified. And my dad just picked it up. We took it to the sink and washed it off. And he said, "Well, just cook off any of that. It'll just cook right off." And we went from there. So that kind of taught me a few things. Don't try to move your buttered up bird like that again, but also just to go with it. It was one of those moments where I just thought, well, we're not going to have another opportunity to thaw out a turkey. So we're going to have to really just go with this. And my dad's faith in me that we could just get it done.
Yeah, so starting young and having support from your dad and also your encouragement from your neighbor, and I think has allowed you to it was like an opportunity for you during the young age to understand that mistakes are okay, and there probably will be many when you are cooking, and but it's okay. And so I think what a great experience, and in a way, what a great way to teach is to finding a way how to solve the problem, right? And
Right.
eventually still make a meal out of it, right?
That was definitely the challenge. And I just thought, oh no, I've ruined dinner. But my dad said, you know what? We can make this work. Let's do it. And we did. And it turned out great. And no one, he was so kind not to tell the story. Now I've told the world, but he didn't tell the folks at dinner.
Yeah.
We were good. We were good. Luckily the kitchen was pretty clean too. The next ingredient we're going to add in, Alina, is tahini.
Okay.
So if you folks in the community are not familiar with tahini, here in San Antonio, we have a spice blend called tahini that lots of folks relate to for their fruit that we sprinkle on fruit here. This is not tahini, this is tahini. And the only thing in the jar is just roasted sesame seeds. So they've taken the roasted sesame seeds and they've pureed them into a paste. It's something you'll find in the grocery store. Traditionally, it'll be on the peanut butter aisle because it's kind of in that realm, either high or low, or it will be on what many stores will designate as the international aisle. And very delicious, but also really good for us, an excellent source of calcium. It's got lots of protein. Just a couple tablespoons of it has 7 grams of protein and 3 grams of fiber. Mm-hmm. So it's in a lot of creamy dressings that we'll find sometimes on the market, and it's also a traditional ingredient in our hummus. If you don't happen to have it, I have fairly easily substituted nut butters. I have a sun butter here that's made from sunflower seeds that you could do instead. So I don't want anyone to think, boy, I'm going to have to go out and buy many things. If you have a sun butter or a peanut butter, that will add that creamy texture that we're looking for in our hummus without having to have that extra purchase if you prefer. But I love it and use it in lots of other things too. So we're going to use the tahini today, and we need a 1/3 of a cup that will blend in with our garbanzo beans. So I'm just adding that to my bullet. And that's the nice thing about these little bullets in our blenders. This is a 1 pot or a 1 container dish. We're not having to dirty up many things.
And it is very in size, like the bullet that you're using is small. And I was thinking it's really convenient to take it on the road with you.
Yes. When I go travel to visit my in-laws, we rent a house in the mountains with my in-laws and brother-in-laws and stuff. I'm always taking little appliances with me and my chef knives because that's one of my love languages is cooking for my family. So even on the road, I have my little packet of things. Or if we go out to the camping to a cabin that we like to stay at, that thing comes with me too.
Very cool.
All right, and then you can use a clove of garlic. If you prefer to use garlic that's already granulated, we'll just add about a teaspoon to it. Some folks like more garlic, some folks like less. So if garlic is just not your thing, you can leave that out. But just remember that we're going to use a little bit more, maybe seasoning instead. And the way I open up my garlic, just a little teaching moment on this, is I do not just peel it fully by hand. I just take the side of my chef knife and just kind of smash down, and that usually gets most of the skin off of it, because if you don't have a garlic press, or if you have one that doesn't do the job of pressing the garlic clove through with the skin, that's what I do. But granulated garlic will work just as fine because we're blending all of this in. I like to give it at least a little bit of a chop with the blender. You're using the Vitamix that will probably puree it beautifully if you don't do anything but add the clove. But because I'm using the little personal blender, I'm using a garlic press. So I'm just adding 1 clove to mine.
Okay, I think I'm going to skip on the garlic. I am out of my garlic.
No problem. And then that is definitely to taste. I add just a little drizzle of olive oil. Olive oil is one of those cooking oils that is that sometimes gets a little bad rap in cooking or misunderstood. The one I'm using is an unfiltered, first cold pressed olive oil. That just means that this is the first time that they press the olives, and without any type of mechanical or heat, they have this beautiful olive oil. There's some olive oils that they're lighter and they're able to go with a higher heat index, and they usually will say that on the bottle. And the smoke point is what you'll be looking for. So if you prefer that light flavor of cooking with olive oil, just make sure the one you pick up is really designated to take the heat, as you might say. This one is in particular more for drizzling or salads and just light cooking and not sauteing or frying at all. So just a lovely olive oil. So I added that in. I'm going to add in a little bit of paprika. I use smoked paprika. It's a preference. I hope that you guys will take the opportunity to try it if you haven't before. It just adds a little smoky flavor. Sometimes I add a little bit more on top, and I'm adding in about a half a teaspoon of that to my hummus. Now, if you've been to the grocery store anytime recently, you've probably had to see all the many different varieties of hummus, as I mentioned, and there's even dessert hummus. And one of the classes that I offer in my teaching kitchen is hummus and flatbreads from around the world. And we do a variety of different hummus, including some dessert or lighter hummus that are nice for either whether you're doing some salads and something like that. But this particular one is a little more on the savory side. So at this time, you could add in lots of things that you might want to have that flavor profile, or you could prefer to put them at the end. I have some roasted bell pepper strips that I'm going to probably top mine a little bit with at the end. But this would be even an opportunity where you could throw in some of those beautiful herbs you have. You can toss in anything else. I'm not adding any salt to mine. In the kitchen, a lot of what we use are seasonings that are without sodium. So like the Dash items, which you might remember as Mrs. Dash. I think they took the Mrs. off the beginning of it. And those are herb and spices that do not have sodium. Today, I'm adding a little bit of, this is something I love to cook with different types of Cajun and Creole cooking. And this is just a Cajun Trinity with garlic. So all that's in here is a little more garlic, bell pepper, onion. I'm doing this as a spice blend, just a little, probably about a half a teaspoon. So this is where you, Lena, can play with yours too and get that flavor profile the way you want. Because I'm using that blend. What's that?
Can you show it on a screen what it looks like, that spice that
yeah.
you mentioned?
This is the one I'm using. Can you see it? Because I can't see myself at all.
I can see it, yes.
Okay. So this is called the Rex Cajun Trinity with garlic. I got this at H-E-B. I throw this sometimes into rice or quinoa, different things that I'm cooking that that I just want to get that without cooking up the vegetables. And it's literally all that's in here are the garlic, onion, celery, green bell pepper, and red bell pepper.
Okay.
Sodium, none of that. So
Okay.
just a little seasoning. And I can smell it already. It smells delicious. Because I am using the personal blender, even though we have the lemon juice and the tahini, I'm just going to add just a drizzle of the juices from the can. That's the juices that the garbanzo beans were in while they're in the can. And then we can make some noise.
All right, let's do that.
And are you using fresh beans, Olena?
I do. I cooked mine.
Yes. That's lovely too. I've sometimes I can taste a little more savory, and then sometimes I feel like they cream up a little more too if you use them fresh. But definitely on the fly, or if you're just like, I'm not trying to do all that, then go for the can. But fresh is always best for sure. All right.
So, Mary, what did food represent in your household when you were growing up?
Food in my household was definitely a mix of different cultures, and also just fuel. Sometimes we definitely always had our meals, but because of the unfortunate health issues that my stepmom had with when I was growing up, I didn't always have what one might call a home cooked meal when I was really young. But when my dad would get in the kitchen, his German heritage would come through, and so he would bring to the table with all kinds of different German dishes that he loved. And sometimes they were as simple as going to the grocery store and picking up some of the things that were already prepared in the deli. I still remember being maybe in first or second grade before I really tried something like a bologna or ham sandwich like that, because he, coming from California and also from his heritage with German heritage, we usually had some dark rye bread or brown breads in our house. We didn't have the traditional like butter crust or whatever the other kids in school. So yeah.
I grew up on dark rye bread, and
yes,
definitely have fond memories. Very, very nice. And so you have a German heritage, and also, don't you have a family from Spain as well? Like the other
yes.
family?
So my mother was from Spain, and so the recipes that I was handed from family members for her, because I grew up with my dad and not my birth mother, were definitely more of the Mediterranean style recipes. So my children grew up with having dishes like paella. That was one of the dishes that was a part of a celebration when we would all get together, or even moussaka. So that's actually one that when my girls had their first sleepover, they wanted to have. And I said, well, maybe we need to do pizza, because I don't know that your friends are going to know what this is if we pull that out of our hat. But they were insistent, no, we can have both, Mom, because I want them to try it. So we did. And yeah, it was definitely an intersection of flavors from different parts of the world. And at the time back then in the, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, a lot of those ingredients were very difficult to find. As my children were growing up, it was a lot easier to find like Spanish chorizo, which is more of the cured meat chorizo from Spain, or some of the peppers and other ingredients and spices that we can now find easily, whether we're pulling them down from the internet or just an international store that we have nearby in the
So we live
neighborhood.
right
So
now.
definitely.
I was going to say that we live in a city right now that is diverse, culturally diverse with its cuisine. So, Mary, how is living in this city has shaped also the way you think about food and also wellness?
San Antonio is definitely a melting pot in the flavors in the world, not only because we're one of the largest cities in the nation. I think we're number 7 now, but also because of the diverse community we have. And of course, we're known as Military City, USA. So there's folks coming in from around the country and around the world that contribute to what we have here in our cultural, in our city and cuisine. And in the world of chefs and just out in that world of cooking, it's definitely diverse as well. I've had the opportunity to work beside and with chefs from all over the world that bring not only their spices and their flavors, but just their joy of cooking and their experience. Just like my experience of knowing that paella, or something simple as the German sausage with sauerkraut at home, they're coming in to the table with all of their gifts. And just food is heritage here. Anywhere you look in San Antonio, you can see the pride that the citizens of San Antonio have in not only just being here in Texas and in San Antonio, but in their culture, whether it's Mexican food in our Tejano, or Tex-Mex food, as we call it here in San Antonio, Tex-Mex style food. We can see different varieties of people that have come in, and it's maybe from just a different part of Mexico, whether it's a place that they've come from, or it's just the homegrown cooking that comes from tradition, handed down from the grandparents to the parent to the child. So it's definitely a diverse culture, and seeing that also reminds me of just seeing so much abundance of food, and just the side of food insecurity side by side that happens here in a large city. I think that's probably true everywhere, but it's definitely something that is on my mind as we dissect that culture and all. And I think San Antonio's really taught me that wellness has to be practical, but in here in San Antonio, it's accessible because we have so much here, but there's always that side of the food insecurity side that happens as well, and the many organizations that work to assist in that.
And you have personally been a driver of change here by offering to opening up our doors in a way to bring food distribution on post to support military families. And how did it start? How did that idea come to fruition?
Well, sure. So right before I joined the team at the Vogel Resiliency Center in 2021, I was already working and having conversation with the folks that were in leadership there, that were communicating in the community during 2020 and actually during COVID. And so in April of 2020, San Antonio made national news because the San Antonio Food Bank attempted to have a food distribution right after COVID. And here in this very much of a hospitality city where food service and all of that is part of it, there were a lot of individuals who were sent home because of the shutdown. And so they had a food distribution at a large venue and served 10,000 people that day. And that kind of taught the food bank, the San Antonio Food Bank, and Feeding America, who is there under the umbrella of nationally, that we have to look at this a whole different way now. And so the idea of food pop-up distributions began that spring, and the leadership there at JBSA Fort Sam Houston, some of the folks that were working in the resiliency kitchen worked hard and diligently to establish the way so that we could actually have a military food distribution on JBSA Fort Sam Houston. We're one of a handful still in 2026 that have that offering, and that's how it began. As I came on as chef in 2021, I really saw the need to branch and continue this, because I could offer the skill set. We could take folks to the stovetop and show them how to make a dish, really show them what to do. But if they didn't have food to go home to, had a big gap there. And I saw the need, whether it was at the end of class when folks were really looking at the leftovers and trying to figure out if maybe they could take some home to their family, which we do. You can kind of see some of those conversations happening, or just conversations that naturally happen when people are sitting at the table and breaking bread, where they just, spouses and military members might just relate to me that they were struggling to make ends meet with their spouses or themselves not working at the time. And so that's where that connection really took place. And then as I was able to work closely with the San Antonio Food Bank and continue our relationship, I was able to really dig in through not just there on JBSA Fort Sam Houston, but through our veteran community in San Antonio and just in community-wide, and the need that was there.
And so since you started, how many families have you supported with your effort?
In the last 5 years, we've supported over 20,000 families, I believe. We usually have on average about, or 20,000 individuals as well, I would say, and probably about, let's see, we probably served over 100,000 pounds of food as well.
That's incredible.
And we usually have the San Antonio Food Bank brings right around 10,000 pounds of food on average to the food bank. We serve up to 200 families a month. And these individuals or families could be represented by active duty, veterans, civilians that are either GS or contractors, anyone that can get on the post. The San Antonio Food Bank also allows for us to distribute, so that if a family neighbor is unable to attend our food bank because distribution, then their neighbor can pick up for them as well.
That's incredible. And that's how the idea for the food pantry was born as well, to have something on a stand, on a
Yes.
something that they could go to a location, right? If there is a need. Are you able to speak on that a little bit more?
Sure. So about a year ago, I was approached by one of our leaders from the Command Sergeant Major that's from the 502nd there, Air Force on JBSA Fort Sam Houston. And he asked about us being able to distribute these bags that are commissary or grocery store on base. They collect those. They're about $15. The customers there at the commissary are able to purchase them for a family in need through a program called Feds Feeding Families. And they needed a place to not only be able to distribute them, but also to be able to have that communication and connection with the families and not just a handoff. So I was able to redistribute my pantry in-house and put together a space so that we could have those bags. And now we have a food pantry. During the last year's furlough in October that lasted 6 weeks, just during that 6 weeks, we had 108 individuals that utilized the food pantry as a resource during that time. And I was not there on site because I was one of those furloughed, but the team of Army public health nurses in-house were able to meet with those families and assist them in their times of need there. It's open Monday through Friday, each day, early morning from 6 to 10, and then Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 1 to 4 by appointment. And so we really try to look at meeting folks where they're at time-wise as well, and not just saying, well, here's a list of resources that you can take in between our food distribution that happens once a month. Now we're able to actually meet folks that maybe couldn't make that distribution, or if they've just arrived and they just need that boost, they are able to come in and receive. And it is based on, it can be an emergency situation. It can be something where financially, that's where we're meeting their need as well. There's different avenues for that. And there's not any type of, they don't have to bring any paperwork or ID. What they do bring is their basic family information, and we're able to then, give them that food.
Thank you. So if you're in San Antonio or just arriving to San Antonio and have an access to military base at Fort Sam, please know that if you are in need of resources and food, then you can stop by. You can ask about kitchen pantry, and also look for the food distribution events that are happening monthly. All right, so we have made this beautiful hummus. I haven't tried it yet, but it looks really
I know. I put a little bit of bell peppers, those roasted bell peppers on mine. I also, a lot of times, because I just like to look at what we can add to our diet that can add some extra health benefits. So sometimes I'll add some roasted pumpkin seeds or some sunflower seeds. We can do an extra little drizzle of that beautiful olive oil on there, some smoked paprika or whatever your favorite spice blend is. I'm serving mine right now with some cut cucumber, but of course, pitas or whatever you prefer. Those sweet little red bell pepper or, little bell peppers are nice too. So yeah, did you try it? What did you
think? And exciting. So are you ready to try it?
I'm going to. Let me get a little something to put mine in.
Okay.
I was ready to cook, not to eat. I forgot to get myself a little plate.
A little bit of
my little granddaughter that loves to cook with me. She always says, "Mimi, don't forget the sweet peppers." She loves those.
She loves them, yeah. All right, well, let's try.
What do you think?
Good. This is really good. I actually I just found in my pantry, it says a classic sriracha.
Oh, yes.
I just added it on top a little bit, so I get the kick.
Yes. And that's something too, that's nice with hummus. It's such a, you have that just simple base, but like I mentioned, the class where we do the hummus and flatbreads from around the world.
Yes.
I break the recipe in half where I have them make it per recipe, and then they split it into 2 bowls and they can top it. I'll have all kinds of different ingredients sitting out so we can just make it our own. And because that's the thing about this is there's so many different ways you could go with it that makes it delicious. And just a couple minutes to make.
Absolutely. Hummus is like a go-to item because you can dress it up with many vegetables, and
yes,
it goes very well with anything we usually in the meal. Wonderful. So are we ready to make our Capri salad?
Sure. I'm pulling everything out from mine, kind of switching gears here.
Okay.
Get these things out of the way.
Well, I'm really excited.
I'll make sure that I get you the hummus recipe too, Alina. I think I know you've had it before, so you might have it on hand. Yeah. But I realized that I didn't actually send it to you.
Yeah. And I'll make sure to post it so the viewers.
Great. And the caprese salad too. The salad that I'm making today with you is actually from our Tbsp commissary website.
Okay.
So you don't have to sign in. You don't have to have an account or anything like that. Basically, it is you just go to the JBSA website. I just put in JBSA Fort Sam Houston Commissary, and it'll pop up. And at the very top, there's a tag for recipes, and it's the simple caprese salad. They have an assortment of all sorts of recipes. So even our community that is not going to go on base, perhaps, you can still utilize the recipes. And if you scan down to the bottom of that page, there's actually another filter that you can put for healthy recipes, and it'll come up with many, many dietitian approved recipes as well.
This is a great information.
So this recipe is just a simple caprese salad. Now, if we think of a salad that's a caprese, sometimes we imagine the plate where there's the slices of the beautiful beefy tomatoes, or the slice of the cucumber or mozzarella, and with the basil. But today we're making this in more of the cucumber and tomato salad with our mozzarella. So I'm going to get the last of my items over here.
So the word resilience, while we are prepping, we hear this word used a lot. And because resilience can be presented in many different ways. And so what does resilience look like in your world, Mary?
So definitely, Alina, especially since I teach in what is called the Resiliency Kitchen, and sometimes it's a tag word that, we see in a lot of different things, like you mentioned. In my world, I would almost I'd want to use the word ordinary. It's not something that is necessary to say it's something you have to do that's special, that you have to stop what you're doing to be resilient. It looks like someone coming back next week, someone that's going to reach out instead of withdrawing, someone that's going to come to the table and really be present. And so when I think about it, it's more asking for help, maybe showing up again after a setback, not letting that keep you down. Learning ways to nourish yourself under pressure. That's one that for this last year for me, with challenges I've had, just really being able to look within and nourish myself under all that pressure. And small, consistent choices, not necessarily a dramatic transformation. Resiliency to me is just that, those choices, those measured movements in my day where I see that I'm taking that moment for myself, and just so I know that the word is well used, and we want to see it as a way of saying, okay, I can move forward even when things happen that might have yesterday, I might have not seen the way.
So the two things that stood out to me from what you have shared is taking small steps to move forward, and also reaching out to your community, because it does take vulnerability to do that, to stay connected to your community. And I think the Resiliency Kitchen has been doing this effectively for years.
Yes.
That
has been one of my favorite parts of being a part of the program and building this program is having that opportunity to walk beside folks that maybe they didn't have, that family because they've just arrived here at JBSA, or there's some type of practical need that they have that we need. But sometimes it can just be sitting beside someone with that cup of tea and really just
yes, especially when they're not able to go back home for the holidays, that really can feel lonely, and ability for them to come together, cook together, connect, celebrate. It's just a wonderful, I think, a wonderful opportunity, wonderful place that has done so much, contributed to positive change in San Antonio community at JBSA. I have this quote in my nonprofit, Radiant Heroes Foundation, that resilience is not just it's not just simply bouncing back, but it is building forward. And what do you think about that concept that when we use the resources and community to bounce back, what do you think about paying forward?
Oh, definitely. And that's one of the amazing things that I've had the opportunity to witness and be a part of and teach in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have folks that if they are not able to feel that they have given their time or given some sort of, whether it's their time of sitting beside someone or walking through and being a volunteer through one of the different organizational, whether it's the food distribution or the pantry, that they don't feel that they are able to receive those resources without giving their time. And so we have conversation directly about that have stemmed from watching those things occur, where, you know, we want to frame it as a resource whenever we do there in the kitchen, but it's also a time of community, of gathering. And I feel like when I have had the opportunity, and maybe this, you know, there's something going on personally or professionally that I'm really having to push through, and just walking in and having those students, having the volunteers, having the family show up, that is, and being able to offer something of myself professionally, personally, just my time, that builds me up immediately. I receive so much in my spirit and myself from those moments than any paycheck, any tangible gift could do. You know, whether it's the award received or that pat on the back from, you know, whoever up high, just those little simple moments with the families and seeing them receive and seeing the light go on I can really do this when they're cutting or doing something for the first time. That to me, and you know, giving and paying that forward in that manner for me is just a gift that to myself as much as to them. And we have real conversations about that because there's a lot of stigma that happens around need, that sometimes folks tie it into that they have to give first before they can receive. And so, but then they do see the blessing of the gift they're giving too. So they might come into it with the mindset that, well, I have to volunteer if I'm going to go home with any food today. But then they're blessed by seeing the gift they've given of time and effort to those families as well. So that might not quite be what you were looking for, but that's where my mind goes with that answer, because it's a tangible that we deal with. It's something we talk about often.
There's this giving and receiving as we are part of a community. It's that process of building forward. And I think it's so beautiful. So I think you definitely touched the spot right there. Thank you so much.
How's your salad coming along? I have about 6, I think, of the small little cucumbers I use today.
Okay.
I use the English cucumbers a lot in this recipe, but these little cucumbers, for folks that say, I like cucumber, but they don't like me, maybe they're, you know, it cause some gastro issues, or they're bitter. I don't even peel these at all because they're so tasty and they're sweeter to me. But I use the English cucumber or a homegrown cucumber as well. So it's up to you of what you have on hand and what you prefer. Okay. And then if you're using a larger cucumber, I would say one or 1.5 of the large English cucumbers. If you're using a homegrown, at least 1 or 2 of those. And then I had some medium tomatoes that I chopped, and I'm adding in. If you have the little cherry tomatoes, maybe you've grown them at home. That's what I'm growing right now, because I don't know what my backyard needs, but the big tomatoes just don't want to join me this summer or this spring. So I'm getting a nice harvest of my little kind of grape size ones. So I'm just chopping those in half and adding them in as well because I had 3, not 4 of the large tomatoes. So I'm going to add those. And then actually what I did for our mozzarella, instead of just doing the plain pearl ones, because for some reason my HEB didn't have them, I'm using these fresh mozzarella cheese that are marinated. And they have a nice little blend of herbs and oil that I thought, well, that can't be bad. So I'm going to strain them off just a bit and add those to my, and it calls for about 10. But I say measure with your heart on mozzarella. Do your thing. Olina?
Yes, welcome back.
I switched computers.
All right.
I don't know if can you see me also?
Not yet.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, beautiful.
Okay. Let me see.
So while we're making a salad, there's a question I want to ask you, which is about anti-inflammatory eating. So without any clinical explanation, how would you explain anti-inflammatory eating?
Colorful foods. You want to think about like all of the beautiful, colorful foods we're using today, all these fresh vegetables that we're cooking with today or making our salads with today. Healthy fats. I just had a little stuffy that someone gave me that said, but I'm a healthy fat and it's an avocado. So we think of things like that, but really looking at what that looks like in the healthier fats versus maybe the fried foods, the processed foods. And again, less ultra processed foods, the better. So cooking with and using herbs and spices. Today we're going to use basil in this recipe, but you can add in so many different herbs to the salad. And that's one of the things I mentioned earlier was what we can add in and not necessarily everything we have to take away. So when we look at anti-inflammatory, there's so many different varieties. We can say like the Mediterranean diet and all of those things, but really just looking at choosing foods that are going to help support your body and so that you feel supported instead of stressed. And sometimes we don't think about food with feelings that way. What does my body feel like when it feels supported rather than stressed? And you might be able to imagine, what does your body feel like maybe when you've had that long day and you just had to run through the drive-through and grab that, whatever fun fast food that you grabbed. And it was a choice and we ate it. It was okay. It was tasty, but then maybe that heaviness afterwards, or that feeling of, yes, I'm full, but now I just kind of feel heavy and just not necessarily great. That's my personal feeling, rather than when I toss something like the salad and our hummus together and things like that are really going to fuel our bodies. And I don't have that feeling afterwards of that stress and that heaviness afterwards. So just really things like that. Also fiber. That's also one of the things we hear a lot right now in media about getting in the protein, which is fantastic. Especially I'm a woman of a certain age, so that's important to everyone, but I'm really trying to focus on that. But on the flip side of that, making sure that I'm getting good fiber choices in too. So really just building your plate, if you imagine your plate, with items that your body recognizes. Things that when you look at the plate, that you're like, okay, I know that cucumber, I understand that, maybe that small protein and things like that, and not just a bunch of packaged things that we pop together too. So just kind of really limiting those things and fueling it with things that our body recognizes.
So do you have any ingredients that you like to introduce from your cultural background into anti-inflammatory cooking? What are your favorites?
Well, because, and I mentioned Mediterranean. So my mother's family not only was from Spain, but also the Canary Islands. So when I look back at those items that I choose to gravitate to in my kitchen are things that like the oils that I choose. I try to choose really lighter, healthier oils. The spices that I choose, I like to blend in with really making the spices open up. So if you cook with them, I recommend, if you're using spices that you have in your pantry, take a look at the dates on them. Just because it says 2035, that probably, if it's been opened, it's probably not a good indicator. Get it out, put a little in your hand and taste it. If it's tasting like it's not opening up your palate, then you can try and put it in your hands and kind of warm it up, give it a little bit of a shake to it. If that's still not working, it might be time to change it out. I always recommend, in many of the grocery stores will have canisters in like their healthy living section, and those are quickly moved through to where you can get just a little bit of like a tablespoon or two of a specialty spice, rather than buying a brand name, you know, turmeric that you may not use again till next year. So keeping those spices nice and fresh. Also putting them in your pan and opening them up. So sometimes before I add in, maybe I have a spice blend of perhaps like turmeric or my peppers or my cumin, I'll open them up in the pan.
Right. So Mary, tell us what you are doing right now with the salad.
So right now I've added in my cucumbers, my chopped tomatoes, including I had 3 chopped medium tomatoes, and then I had added in my little cherry grape tomatoes. The mozzarella balls are in here, some chopped red onion. Then the dressing that I'm using today is just a bottled balsamic vinaigrette. There's some very simple vinaigrette that you can make on your own. I wasn't sure on timing for us, so I'll give you my simple and easy recipe for the balsamic vinaigrette. But the one I'm using is the organics balsamic vinaigrette dressing. It's just a grocery store one that's what I consider pretty clean and tasty as well. So I added that in as well, and then just some salt and pepper to taste. I did mention that the mozzarella balls that I purchased were in a little bit of an herbed oil, so I allowed some of that to enter in as well. And that's where you can go so many ways with this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's really lovely. And tomorrow or tonight, when I go to serve my family this recipe, it's going to be even tastier because it'll have marinated in the vegetables. So this will be a real simple dressing you can, and salad recipe that you can make at home for your family. And it's just a kind of an out of the box recipe for caprese salad. And again, it was the recipe that I received from dietitian approved recipes that are healthier from our Fort Sam Houston commissary website.
Thank you so much for introducing us to this recipe. Again, it's very simple, very quick, very efficient. And the longer it stays, the better it tastes, from what I understand.
Yes, it'll be tastier. It just likes to marinate. Great to throw in with your lunch if you have something. I know last time we made it, we had grilled some chicken, and I just took some of that along with a little bit of my protein in my lunch bag, and that was a tasty lunch for on the go to work.
Fantastic. So Mary, thank you for your time, for coming to this podcast and sharing about the work that you do, sharing how you immensely support the community around here. And I really hope to have you back again. So after we work out all these technical difficulties that we've had, so hopefully we can have another opportunity, maybe in the same kitchen, or we'll find a way. But I think the discussion needs to be had and continued.
I can join you, or you can join me.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes, I love that. I love that. But I have a game that I like to play at the end. And so this is a game where I will give you
Okay.
options and you just pick one. You don't have to give any explanations why you chose it unless you would like to. So,
Okay.
all right. So here we go. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So kitchen vibe, music or silence?
Music.
Comfort.
Definitely music. We have music on every time we have a class too.
Yes, yes. What about comfort food? Spicy or sweet?
um, Spicy.
Okay. Herb of choice, cilantro or basil?
That's a hard one. Currently basil.
Okay. Self-care Sunday, long cook or long walk?
For me, long cook, but sometimes long walk. The go-to choice has to be long cook, yes.
Um, Teaching style, follow the recipe or trust your gut?
Ooh. Um, I told you my background in kids in the kitchen and me just going for it. So I would say for myself, I'm about going for it, but I teach start with the basic recipe and go from there unless you have that confidence that you're just ready to go for it, then go for it. Go for it all day long. But if you're just a little bit unsure, start with the basic recipe that the pros have put together and then branch out from there.
Okay, thank you. So follow the recipe.
Okay.
Oh, that's the next one. Okay, so turmeric how? Golden latte or in a dish?
Oh, golden latte is beautiful. But I do use it in a dish. I think golden latte.
Okay. First, at a food distribution, first to arrive or last to leave?
Oh, I'm that first to arrive person. I
Okay.
want to make sure I'm all in for everything.
Yeah. Community table, feed 10 families or teach 10 to cook?
Oh wow. That's a hard one. I would say teach 10 to cook. That's a hard one, Alina, because my instinct is say feed them right now and then teach them to cook. But I always look at that whole thing of they can go home and cook for their future if they learn to cook. So yeah, I would say teach them to cook.
Legacy, a cookbook or a school?
Oh, for myself, a cookbook.
All right. Thank you so much. So thank you, Chef Mary, for your time, for your stories that you've shared today. I know we had some technical difficulties, but hopefully we can just keep this conversation going. I hope that you look
I need to.
into the Vogel Resiliency Center and also the San Antonio Food Bank and other resources that may be available here and just find a way to show up for communities, show up for all of us. And until next time, and again, thank you so much for joining us today. We've made some beautiful dishes. Can you show your salad?
Here's my salad.
All right. Oh, it looks beautiful, and I can see it. Yes.
Yours looks beautiful too, Alina.
Thank you. Mine just for now peppers and tomatoes, but I'll add other things.
Thank you so much, Alina. I so enjoyed the time with you and cooking with you. And we'll look forward to meeting again.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you. Bye.